worldwide fans of our planet's hottest entertainment with an edge. Jaime En Fuego here, welcoming you to my namesake program, Enfuegotainment. That's right, you can just call me Fuego for short, and I'm so stoked to have you here for a bit of discussion about none other than Sam Mendes' 1917, a visual marvel, a World War I film, as a matter of fact. And honestly, I think it's kind of lame that, you know, the first great World War, and there's nothing great about war, obviously, but I don't know, WWI just doesn't get the kind of coverage as far as in filmmaking and television work as well that we've seen from both Vietnam and from World War II, you know, the big one, WW2. And so just especially getting the British perspective, because, you know, the Americans came into, you know, World War I fairly late in the game, and in comparison with, you know, WW2, we just got involved. We weren't attacked or anything like that. So really, at the end of the day, it was a war so very much about the Brits and just, you know, and those various others, you know, on their side of allies and stuff. And so it was refreshing to see, you know, the trench warfare and just a conflict that I don't think gets the proper attention, at least in this day and age, that it should. So directed by Sam Mendes and shot amazingly by Roger Deakins. This was a film that actually pulled some big upsets recently at the Golden Globe Awards. So yeah, it actually ended up winning on the drama side for Best Picture and also for Best Director, taking out the likes of The Irishman and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and some of the big, you know, favorites, Tarantino, Scorsese. And so I finally got our wide release. And you know, I had already done my best of the year, and this is one that I wish had been in wide release by the time I was doing my list, because I did a list top 25 on here. 1917 would have most definitely been in that list. I don't know if it would have cracked my 10. Definitely my 20 though, because it is a visual marvel, and yeah, it just was released in limited on the 25th of December so that it could get the proper awards consideration and be able to get Oscar nominations and stuff, which those are being announced on Monday. So I'm positive it's going to get a slew of nominations, probably of the technical variety like sound and editing and, you know, things like that. Definitely for best cinematography, definitely for director, definitely for best picture, although I don't think for acting. So, but that's not what we're here for. We are to give my honest and unbiased thoughts about 1917. So we always do a little bit of Bueno, Malo, and Feo here on Enfuegotainment. So a little good, a little bad, and a little ugly. So jumping into Bueno right off the bat, as I've stressed a few times already, this film is a sight to behold. It's kind of gimmicky in the fact that it is meant to look like two just halves of one continuous shot. Obviously, they fake this, but they, at least for me and the naked eye, they do it very convincingly and rather seamlessly. There's a lot of different parts where you could tell the cut could have been made, but the fact that they just make it look as if it is one continuous take through the first half, and then we go to black, and then the second half of the film is another, you're meant to believe that it is just one shot that just moves and goes. And Roger Deakins was nominated numerous times for Academy Awards. Never won until Blade Runner 2049, which is an amazing looking film in and of itself. I adore that film. Denis Villeneuve, you know, a terrific sequel, one that a lot of people were skeptical if it was going to be any good. But this film is just unbelievably shot, and the set design is ridiculously good. I mean, performances are solid, but it's really just that much more about, it's a rather simple story, you know, and I guess I could probably mention that in the MALO is the simplicity of it, but really the setup is that there's these two British soldiers that have to go on foot and get over to this area where a large collective of troops are about to go and attack these Germans, and turns out it's a trap. They have their radio contact, or, you know, telephone lines or whatever have been severed by the Germans, and so there's no means for them to actually radio and contact you know, this other battalion of sorts that's ready to just go into a bloodbath where they will all just get slaughtered, essentially. So yeah, this one younger troop and then a slightly older and more battle-hardened one, they are sent on this mission to go and yes, just make contact and warn them and make sure that they do not go into this battle with, you know, just the arrogance that unfortunately this particular commander, you know, I can't remember if he's a general or whatever, but yeah, the guy who is leading that particular like sector of forces and stuff, He's got some bravado, he's got some arrogance a little bit, and so he's just rearing to go at these Germans, and that leader is played by Benedict Cumberbatch. Does have a large role in this film, but yeah, I mean, it really, more so than anything, is about just that seamless just shot, and it's so beautifully done in the fact that it's trailing them, you know, as they're walking through just all of these different trenches and stuff, and I can only imagine the full extent of the set design, just building all of this stuff, and then in turn building the battlefields with like just these huge rows of barbed wire and the dead bodies all over that they are just trying to slog past and everything, and the mud, and it's just, man, the destroyed city that we get about halfway through. It's just, what a film, what a sight to behold. This movie is incredible looking. It's a technical just wonder, and I think it's a lot to win Best Cinematography. I mean, you know, provided it does get nominated for the Oscars, there's no way it's not going to be happening, obviously. I guarantee it's going to get a nomination. I'm not sure about directing or Best Picture or anything like that, and you know, since I've gushed so much about just how great it is to look at, how masterfully made it is, wonderfully directed, if I'm going to segue into MALO, because I try not to make these reviews too insanely long, is the fact that the film, pacing-wise, does drag a little bit in the middle. It definitely does. And it's not the deepest, most compelling script in a lot of ways, but, you know, that's just personal opinion. Obviously, war movies are not so much my jam, so that is really just a, you know, tomato, personal taste sort of situation, but boy, is it a sight to behold, even if I feel like the script kind of gets a little less interesting. It rebounds very well in the third act, but the middle of the film drags just the slightest degree, and this film isn't even 2 hours long, FYI, so it's not your typical war movie, 2.5, close to 3 hours, whatever. Apocalypse Now or Lawrence of Arabia, this is not. Also, not to say the acting is bad, but the acting is just solidly serviceable, is how I will put it. You know, there is a nice dynamic between our two leads when they're together, and you know, there is splintering, you know, like they meet people, there's some, you know, people come and go and different things like that here and there. They do encounter, you know, various other troops, both on their side and on the other side, throughout different little instances and beats throughout the script, and so these are not bad performances by any way, shape, or form. But, I mean, when you've seen performances this past year, like, I mean, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, or, you know, Renee Zellweger in Judy, or, I mean, even Scarlett Johansson in Jojo Rabbit, I mean, which is another wartime, albeit obviously, World War II. It's like, both of these kids are good in this movie, you know? I don't really hate on he was known as Bill the Foil in 11/22/63 by my co-host on the horror show, Cecil Laird. He's good. He is pretty much our lead in this, and he's very, very solid. It's a strong performance, but it's not a performance that's going to get any nominations, you know? And that's because it really is about just the impersonal aspect of war in a lot of ways in this, and some people may find that an ugly, a fail, if we're going to go into that. Here on Enfuegotainment, feo can be something both bueno or malo, so it can be a good ugly or a bad ugly in some ways. And yeah, the ugliness of war is definitely on display here. There is one particular part where it's very, very, very early in the movie, okay, first like 10 minutes or so, so this isn't like super spoilery, but, you know, this dude cuts his hand, and then, like, he trips and falls in this muddy marsh, and then sticks his sliced up hand accidentally into this dead corpse of a soldier, and you're just like, wow, my God! You know, you can only just think of the riddled disease and everything, and just, you know, there's rats running around on the battlefield and just all kinds of gross stuff like that. So, you know, that is definitely some uglies, you know, to be on display. And, you know, I guess another ugly is something that I mentioned at the very beginning, is the fact that I think it's ugly and a feo that World War I doesn't get as much attention, coverage, or adaptation in contrast, you know, with Vietnam and with World War II, or even as of late, you know, some of the wars, you know, like Desert Storm and a few others. It's just, you know, it was such a thing back when filmmaking was still in its infancy, you know, and so for that reason, it's it's just never got the attention in comparison with when the advent of the motion picture was much more just prevalent and profitable, obviously. So, you know, World War I, to quote Rodney Dangerfield, don't get much respect, don't get no respect. So, you know, if I'm going to give this a final rating, I will definitely say this is a Fuego film. This is 4 out of 5 fireballs, y'all. And yes, it's not the best film of the year by any, you know, there's a lot that I would put ahead of it, most notably, you know, Jojo Rabbit and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Knives Out and a few other smaller indie films that I don't think are going to get the proper consideration, unfortunately. But, you know, I found it more compelling than like The Irishman or even something like The Joker, which is really all about performance and less about story. You know, this is a great tale to be told by director Sam Mendes, and this is an important film and definitely one that needs to be seen on the biggest screen possible. IMAX this shit, you know, get on it and just, you know, just revel in the spectacle and the sadness and the sorrow of this conflict. But it's an uplifting film, and it's yeah, it's just it's a marvel. It really, really, truly is. So, I've been Jaime En Fuego, and y'all can find moi on all social media sectors like Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, and here on YouTube, where, yes, in the year of 19, when I relaunched this channel, I reviewed a ton of different films, a couple dozen, as a matter of fact, you know, everything from comic book stuff to some art house indie dramas, comedies, lots of Star Wars coverage being, you know, leading up to the Rise of Skywalker, bleh. But my review of that is on here along with a group spoiler discussion, and I'm going to have tons of stuff about the Oscars 2020 coming up in the coming weeks, you know, leading up to the ceremony itself. Probably going to do a live show about the Academy nominations when they come out on Monday. I'm not sure if this review will be up by that time. I also just read the Star Wars Tarkin novel, and I went and I put myself through Cats, so that was interesting. So those are just some upcoming reviews, but if you're here and are for whatever reason unfamiliar with my primary YouTube channel, which is The Horror Show at youtube.com/The Horror Show channel, just like you see below, I doubt that's the case. Most people migrate from there over to here because I don't even have 1,000 subscribers on here because I just put this channel on I just pushed it aside for almost 2 years, and then, you know, just have been trying to put some conscientious efforts, which will continue here into the new decade. But yeah, we have over 31,000 subscribers over there compared to my less than 1,000 here. So, you know, like, share, subscribe over there if you like spooktacular stuff, trailer reactions, film reviews, convention coverage, unboxings, let's plays, various awesome things over there. But yes, please do the same here. Like, share, subscribe, you know, get involved. It is greatly appreciated. I have some exciting things that I am developing for the upcoming year here on Enfuegotainment that I very much look forward to sharing with all of you. And then lastly, every Monday evening, well, usually every Monday evening, but sometimes schedule, sickness, whatever happens, and it doesn't always transpire, but usually, more often than not, on Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, on the Willis Screedia YouTube channel, there is a program called Show Business, #Tizzle Show Bizzle. That's right, myself, CP, who is the founder of The Feast over there on Willis Screedia, that is his channel, and Lindsay Mimsy, as I affectionately call him, that's right, from My 2 Cents of Nonsense. So 3 of us get together, and we have a little bit of discussion about weekend box office numbers, both domestically and internationally. We make some predictions to the forthcoming weekend, and then we also just break down some of the biggest news stories in the entertainment world from the past week. So, I've been Fuego. Y'all are always awesome, and I'm so supremely appreciative if you've tuned into this video. And until the real of Ka comes around once more, haha, hasta luego, cinemigos, and constant readers and viewers alike, because yeah, I do some book and graphic novel stuff on here as well. But I am hopeful that we get to share more of this film palaver sooner rather than later. Peace. Happy 2020.